Hey, what's up, guys? Simon Edwards at Pumacom here with Heat Seeker Sports. You're watching the Underdog Best Ball show, and I'm joined today by Astaire. Spread, what's going on, man?
Man, I'm excited to be here. We're going to do another draft. This is around the time I usually draft anyway, Simon. So my body clock is attuned, and I'm ready to pick the best players.
Yeah, this is the sweet spot for the drafting season. This is where you want to start drafting more heavily. You got a more even balance of people who are coming in fresh versus the hardcore drafters who've been drafting since February. And so you have a little bit of a diluted player pool that you're playing against when you're doing these drafts. And if you've been drafting kind of casually throughout this offseason, now is a good time to start picking up on your volume. We have only a couple months left. We're about to enter training camps. We've had some looks at some of these rookies coming in. We've got some better ideas from following the beat writers on what's going on with teams and their new additions, or maybe they're changing coaching staffs and stuff like that. I did a video recently on the Los Angeles Chargers. You can check that out on the YouTube page. Did an in-depth analysis on why I think that they might be one of the keys to winning your league this year. They're very cheap, and they're a team that could be explosive. They got a new great coaching staff to replace the one from the previous years that was not that great. And Spread is here to kind of help navigate through some of this recent news that's been coming out throughout the offseason. The most relevant, I think, is Brandon Aiyuk. I think he just recently asked for a trade request. So, Spread, what's your thoughts on Brandon Aiyuk, and how do you think that that's going to impact his ADP, and what's the potential of him actually getting traded?
Buy the dip. You got to buy the dip, Simon. He's dropping to like 30. Everybody's afraid because they're worried he's going to go into a spot with a weaker quarterback and more target competition. However, I do not think the 49ers are going to trade him. I think the conversation goes like this. Aiyuk, I want to be traded. 49ers, cool. We'll see you at training camp. I don't think they have any intention of trading him right now at all. He's under contract for the year. They have the ability to franchise tag him next year. I don't think he's going to sit out. I think they'll come to this is all negotiating, and I wouldn't be signed if it's just like Bosa and Samuel, where it gets signed a week or two before the season starts. And they're negotiating all training camp, and he ends up getting in there. So I'm buying the dip on Aiyuk right now. I still think he's going to be a 49er. Obviously, if I'm wrong, it affects a lot of things, right? Debo will go up. Purcell will go up. Purdy probably goes down a little bit. However, I don't think it's going to happen.
Do you think that he's at his bottom right now, or do you think he goes a little bit lower?
Probably right now.
Right now? Yeah.
Because for the next week or so, but then everyone's going to forget because nothing's going to happen.
Right.
And something new will be in the news.
Yeah.
Someone else will get a DUI.
Well, that's the beauty of this part of the season too, is any news item, any little news item that comes out is going to have major implications, because people are just dying for NFL news right now. And there's really nothing going on because we're still waiting for training camp news and all that kind of stuff. We still want to get a look at these new players on new teams. We've had that teaser, like I said, but we really don't have clear pictures on players and their situations right now. So any little bit of news that comes out, especially on a player like Brandon Aiyuk, is gonna be an overreaction from the market on his ADP. And just like the stock market, when you get that news that comes out that forces a stock to go way up or way down, you got to react to that and take advantage of it by selling or buying. And when the dip happens like this on a guy like Aiyuk, that's a good opportunity to buy. It's interesting with those San Francisco receivers. I believe they're both Debo's in the second round. Have you noticed him climbing significantly, Spread, or what's the reaction that you've seen on Debo so far?
Maybe climbed a pick or two, but really not too much.
Right. So Debo's pretty fairly priced still too. You can't really miss on Debo if you draft him right now, because if Aiyuk does end up getting traded and he hasn't been reacting to that news, then right there's a buy opportunity on Debo, because Debo, as if he ends up as the only receiver basically on San Francisco, the only decent receiver, then he's going to have a significant climb in value, potentially, high second round, early, late first round type of value, especially like on a team like that. What are your thoughts?
It's funny. I don't know if I changed my projections on Debo that much. I think what would happen is a player currently going undrafted, Juwan Jennings, would pop up into that Demarcus Robinson, Malachi Corley, Wan'Dale Robinson, Troy Franklin range, right? Where he's undrafted right now. But I think he'd become viable. He's really not that bad a player. And if Aiyuk, they did re-sign him this offseason. Obviously not the contract that Aiyuk was looking for, right? But he's under contract for the next couple of years, so they must like him. I would think that Debo's value would stay the same, and Juwan Johnson and Pearsall will just go flying up the boards.
Gotcha. I would kind of push back. I think that Debo, I think if his value does stay the same, like for me, his value goes up, because if you remember that year that Debo had, that monster year that he had, I think a lot of that was because Brandon Aiyuk wasn't clicking with the team, so they didn't have a serious second receiver there. And I do think Juwan Jennings, like he's our guy from Showdown and everything like that. I do think that he would be worth more, but I don't think that, he's just going to jump in and fill like the type of role that Aiyuk had. I think they'd put more on.
No, I'm just saying he would become the viable third option, like a Malachi Corley, right around there, the Demarcus Robinsons. He would, because he's undrafted right now. I rarely see him get picked.
Right. And after that Super Bowl performance that he had, it wouldn't be surprised to see him getting a bigger role. We've known it for a while, like with Third and Juwan is his nickname, because the guy is clutch. He's a good receiver. He doesn't get, like the respect that he deserves. And, he's kind of buried in that lineup, but he's a decent receiver, and he'd be a good guy to start focusing on if the Aiyuk news shakes out and he's gone from the team. So yeah, that's interesting there. Sticking in San Francisco with Christian McCaffrey, we've heard the news recently that they may be tapering down on his workload. What are your thoughts on that spread? Is that affecting how you're drafting the first overall pick?
No.
Yeah.
People say that all the time, right?
Right.
But these guys want to win every single game. Yep. This isn't an NBA environment. And if it comes down to it, and it's 3rd and 3 and the game's on the line, right? They're not going to say, well, he's already at his 25 carries. We didn't want to go above that, right? Yeah. So
right.
I don't buy any of that stuff. I think that those are usually just training camp motivations for guys like Elijah Mitchell, and I think his name is Isaiah Garendo or Isaac Garendo. Regardless, it's a rookie running back, Garendo. Basically just Shanahan saying, hey, if you guys earn something, I'll give it to you.
Right.
But no, to me, I'm still fine taking McCaffrey number 1 overall. I know some people like to get cute and take CD or Tyreek there, but my ideas with the first picks, I'm pretty chalky there, because I want my first round to be pretty even exposure. We all know this is the top 12 players in football, and really only injury is going to stop them from being effective players. So I want even exposure there. And then where my exposures really get wacky is the second half of the draft, picks round 9 through 18. That's where you'll see, like, I take a ton of Jaleel McLaughlin and, not as much. Like, I should probably have more of them, like Vidal and Ray Davis, but I usually take like McLaughlin in that range. And I take my stance there on the later rounds. But the early rounds, I want even exposure. And so in my mind, you have to take McCaffrey number 1, or your exposure is going to be off balance.
Yeah, no, I agree with trying to even out your exposures in that first round. One thing that I will say, I've been taking Bijan Robinson. I have him ranked as like my 5th overall, something like that. So I do have a decent amount of exposure to Bijan, which I don't mind, because I'm the more I hear the coaching staff just talking him up, the better I feel about that pick, because I think he could have a number 1 overall type season this year with the new coaching staff and the better offense. But like, do you have any thoughts? Are you still sticking to what we were talking about earlier in the season, like with like trying to get like a Bijan or a Breece Hall or a Christian McCaffrey, like kind of preferring those guys in that first round, or do you have like a different kind of thinking right now, just keeping it even?
Looking at my exposures, and we'll see if it changes, but Bijan seems to fall more than, so I don't need to reach for him.
Yeah.
There's I think I did one last night. I got him at 9.
Yeah, I've been getting them at 9. I'm shocked by it. Yeah.
Well, I think some people are just so in on this all wide receiver build, and you listen to content and they're preaching, you have to have 4 wide receivers in the first 7. You have to have 5 in the first 10. Yeah. Maybe that's true, but my saying is this is such a small sample size. We don't, if an NFL team, the Patriots used to start 2-2, right, through 4 games.
Yeah.
We don't write off the Patriots as Super Bowl contenders. We have only about 4 years, because they'll especially say that first year contest, you can't really take anything from that information because of how it was just a whole new format and people were just going random here. Right. So I don't buy into that. And I agree with you. I think that, if we're going to do a fun little pool where we says who's the number 1 overall draft pick, but you can't take McCaffrey or CD, right? In our little pool, you got to pick someone 3 through whatever. I think I would take Bijan. I think he's got like the highest upside. And that's what we're going for here in this game. It doesn't matter if you finish 5th or 12th in your pod, you're still out. So you want to be either first or second. So you're swinging for the fences on that upside.
Yeah. Bijan, this could easily be the year that it swings back to the running backs. NFL teams adjust all the time. The trend has been favorable to wide receivers for the past, 4 or 5 years. Eventually, that's going to.
I'll tell you why it goes like this, Simon. And here's my mind, right? So let's look at Kyren Williams, Blake Corum, right? So now Kyren Williams goes out, right? I mean, Blake Corum's going to be a smash. He's going to be a top 10 player. He's going to be in your lineup every week, right? Now look at that same situation on the Rams. If Cooper Kupp goes down, that doesn't necessarily mean that Demarcus Robinson is going to be a top 10 player all of a sudden, right? Or the number 3, because the usage gets split so much easier. So I just think it's easier to find a player, in the back half of the draft that could actually be a game changer at the running back position than wide receiver, which is why, people want Jamar Chase. They want T. Higgins, because even if one of them goes down, Jermaine Burton isn't a for sure, right? Where if Zach Moss goes down, Chase Brown is probably going to be a top 10 quarterback. Top 10 running back. So I think that's why the strategy is the way it is.
Yeah. And that makes sense. If we got like a perfect scenario where all those running backs in the first round stayed healthy all season long, like we could be looking at, like between Breece, Bijan, and Christian McCaffrey, we could be looking at 3 guys that are, like the top 3 scorers overall. Like with Bijan has Algier as the RB2 there, so he's a little bit of a threat. But I just think that the way that the coaching staff recognizes what they have in Bijan, I just don't think that he's going to be as big a threat as he was last year when Arthur Smith was trying to use him a little bit more than he should when he's got Bijan on the team. But Breece Hall, he's got a little bit of competition this year in a rookie, but last year he had Dalvin Cook, and it didn't really impact his workload, but like the team sucking kind of hurt Breece Hall in general, but he picked up towards the end of the season. And then obviously McCaffrey, he's got basically the same situation with Elijah Mitchell as his backup. And, Elijah Mitchell's obviously a good player, former starter for the 49ers, but, I really don't see that as a threat to McCaffrey's workload, even though we've been hearing that, they may reduce his workload. So any other thoughts on news that's come out? Have you heard any bigger stories affecting major players spread?
My other take is I don't think Devontae Adams is getting traded either. I know there's rumors swirling around that he's going back to the Jets, and I think that's all these guys have nothing to write about.
Yeah.
Being an NFL content creator, that's why best ball is great. We have something to talk about. If we didn't have best ball, these NFL shows are tough right now. Nothing's changed.
Right. Well, there's a reason. If you look at the YouTube page, if you look at my YouTube channel, like there's not a lot of content on there like during this off season, because I think people just jump on to talk for the sake of talking. like about a lot of this stuff. Some of it's important. It's good to keep up on the beat writers and what's going on in general. But a lot of the news coming out right now is inconsequential. Like when training camp starts, that's when it matters. But now is the time that you want to be jumping into these drafts. And that's why we got this deal going on with Underdog, where if you use the promo code SEEK, they're going to give you a 50% deposit match up to $250. So if you deposit $500, they're going to give you a match up to $250. So that's $250 free money. That's 10 entries into the Best Ball Mania. So if you're new to Underdog, you'll get that match. And if you've been looking to dip your toe into Best Ball, now's the time to do it. Use that promo code SEEK, and they'll give you that deposit match. And Spread and I are going to jump into a draft here and jump into a Best Ball Mania, actually. So let's get that started, Spread.
All right, I got it pulled up. Let me know when you're ready.
All right, I'm pulled up, ready to enter when you are.
All right, I'm entering right now.
All right. So if we get the same one, 8 more to start. All right, dude, we've been having some luck. We've been having some luck with these drafts.
What's your preferred position to draft in?
Preferred position for me is definitely top 5. I hate the bottom 5 this year. I hate it. Like last year.
Really?
Yeah, last year I liked it. This year I hate it.
And why is that?
I just, I don't like any of the players in the back end. Like unless I get Bijan at 9, like, and that's, you're just crossing your fingers hoping that him or.
So you don't like having like a Puka Nacua,
No.
Chris Olave start?
No, because I think Puka will be negatively impacted by Cooper Kupp this year, and Chris Olave. They have a new offensive coordinator over there. Like, I mean, I like Olave. Like, I think that him and Carr had like a decent connection last year. I think with Carr being more healthy this year, like he'll be more effective. But like I've been drafting Adams over Olave a lot, so I don't really have a strong.
I've been drafting Adams so much in that second round.
Yeah, have you been drafting over Olave or?
Yes, usually.
Okay,
it's weird. Like obviously, I try and take some Olave because my exposures are getting like really bad, and if Devontae like tears his ATL week 2, I'm in trouble.
Yeah.
But my idea there is he's just clear number 1. He's a target competition. He's quarterback proof, right? Where he's shown he can have big seasons no matter who the quarterback is. And I just think he's going to get way more targets than anyone else in that range. I mean, look at Nico Collins is in that range. Look at his target competition.
Right.
Yep. Olave, I guess, shouldn't have the same target competition, but he's never been. I don't think he's ever got more than like 110, 120 targets. Devontae was like 170 something last year.
Yeah. I mean, Devontae just has a consistency there, and like Olave, obviously the younger player, but I mean they're both. I mean, you could say that they're both in pretty bad offenses. I'm sorry, Spread, but like I think. The edge to me just goes with Devontae, just with his history. He hasn't. He hasn't
really landed.
Oh no, I haven't seen yet. I'm not in the fucking back. God damn it! And you're number.
That's so
3.
funny. I don't mind being there.
Like, oh no, I'm in number 9. So maybe Bijan or Brees will fall. I don't. Yeah, I don't hate number 9, but I prefer to be at the top because it's like the drafts at the end. Like when you're in those like top 5, your team looks so much better. I just feel so much better than my team. Oh yeah, miles better. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Because I'm drafting a lot of Patrick Mahomes. So when I'm in the 1 spot and I already got McCaffrey and then those like 2-3 turn, when it comes time for that 4-5 turn and I'm able to pick up Mahomes there. Like I just feel like my team is just like it just looks so much better than all the other teams. So I think that Mahomes is undervalued. He's another one of these guys that's undervalued. And I think that with the weapons that they brought in, we've talked about this on previous shows, how they've been trying to get speed in that offense for years, and they've never had quality guys since Tyreek left, and now they have Hollywood Brown and Xavier Worthy, and they fit exactly what Kansas City has been trying to accomplish for years unsuccessfully, and this is probably the best weapons that Mahomes has had since Tyreek left.
All right. Speaking of Tyreek, that's who I took at number 3.
I like it. Okay,
Yeah,
so
I actually like him more than CD. I just want even exposures.
Yeah,
but if we were doing like one of those big $500 drafts and I was at number 2, I would take Tyreek over CD.
Cool. Yeah, Bijan just went at pick 6, so hopefully Brees will fall to me, but we'll see how
he might. A lot of these people just go wide receiver, wide receiver, wide receiver, wide receiver.
Yeah. So AJ Brown likely to be picked here, hopefully. Nope. All right. So now see, that leaves me with AJ Brown as an option who I don't mind, but I definitely prefer one of those running backs over AJ Brown.
Yeah, I'm wondering. I'm really wondering how much Jalen Hurts is going to be able to support those guys this year.
The thing that I like about the Eagles this year is the new coordinators. Like last year, I was talking in the preseason when we were doing these drafts about how I hated the coordinators and I thought that the Eagles were going to shit the bed, which they did. This year, I feel a lot better about the Eagles coordinators. I think that
who's the offensive coordinator? I know they got Fangio, right?
Yeah, the offensive coordinator is the guy from Los Angeles and Dallas. I can't remember his name right now.
Oh, Kellen Moore?
Yeah, Kellen Moore. Yep. So they got a really good offensive coordinator.
I actually should be better for AJ. He likes to throw.
Yeah. I'm hoping so. I think adding Saquon into the mix and everything like that, they got a really strong offense this year. So I just feel miles better about the Eagles this year than I did. The
other thing the Eagles have is they get to play Washington and New York twice.
Yeah.
Probably put up 40 apiece and 160 total in those 4 games.
Well, the thing that I like about when they play Washington too is they always Washington always plays them hard. So Washington does well against them. I'm gonna go with Barkley. I'm just gonna go with this Eagles stack here.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, like Washington plays the Eagles well. It's always close games, and they're always usually high scoring games too. Now, what do you got your eye on here, spread for your next pick?
Probably pretty close to ADP here.
Yeah. Looks like
Aiyuk went 19, so the buy the dip didn't happen this one.
Yeah. So have you seen him fall to the 3rd round yet? Like significantly? Or yeah.
I thought he might today here. I'll bet you in the fast puppy he would.
Yeah. The fast
that's
puppy,
a little more little softer.
I think the fast puppy affects overall ADP too. So that might be good for us.
I think on the fast puppy though, it's off there the ADPs for just that contest. When you open it up.
Contest? Okay.
Yeah. One thing I was thinking about when you're doing your intro about the casual drafters, what you have to beware of on that is they'll just snipe one of your quarterbacks. Where at the beginning of the year, you can almost guess you look like, oh, okay, this guy's going for these 2 quarterbacks, right? He's going to go for Dak and Kirk Cousins, and they'll just take a random quarterback with no correlation.
Right.
And you're like, what? I had Etienne, Ingram, and Kirk, right? And I'm like, okay, you just wait and get Trevor, And I was even going to reach for him a little bit, and he went and picked 90, and I'm like, and I looked at the guy's team, he had nothing correlated at all.
Yeah. Who do you end up drafting their spread?
I have Devontae again.
Okay. Well, he fell to you. That's pretty good.
Yeah, 19. I'm not bad.
So
or 22. I mean, all right. This is a fun one. I have question I have with myself a lot.
Yeah.
DK or Malik Neighbors.
I kind of lean DK just because I like that offensive coordinator coming in the new coaching regime.
Yeah.
Malik Neighbors is still going to have the Giants offense. which is
The
horrible.
thing though is Malik Neighbors has way less target competition.
True. Yeah.
So I'm wondering. I almost picked him there. I'm wondering if it's going to be a Devontae Adams like situation, or even if the team and the offense isn't that good, he gets like over 150 targets because he's just so much better than every other wide receiver.
Yeah. I mean, even if he does, though, he's still, like he's still green. Like we don't know how good he's going to be out the gate. I would have loved him on a different team, but like the Giants, just like a Giants receiver in the second, early third round, it just doesn't. I
know the Giants sucked last year, but 2 years ago we thought Dayball was the second coming of Bill Parcells.
Yeah, right? I never bought into that, man. Like I bet on Shanahan to win Coach of the Year. Like Shanahan's odds were like something ridiculous, like plus 5,000 or something. And I bet on him, and he went all the way to like he was the favorite. And freaking Dayball had the easiest schedule that year, and I knew that the Giants and the Eagles were going to have a super easy schedule because their whole division like had an easy schedule that year. So
you're up.
Let's see. So I was against. I'm going to go with
this range.
Yeah, this is why I hate drafting this late too. Going to go with Diggs.
So I have so little Diggs.
Yeah.
Finish your story, and then I want to talk to you about Diggs because I need a little incentive to start upping my exposure there. I've been passing on him.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, like the only reason I drafted him there because I haven't really drafted a lot of them, and there was him or Pittman would have been my options, and I knew I wanted to get another receiver because I'm probably going to try to get Hurts in this next round. So that's basically why I went with Diggs. There's no rhyme or reason to that pick other than trying to up my exposure to him.
Okay, yeah, I'm just so worried about that target competition there.
Yeah, the target competition is going to suck for him.
I think that he's getting to the age where if he starts acting like a diva, I don't think D'Amico Ryans is going to mess around with that stuff.
Well, look at Randy Moss when he left Minnesota originally. Like,
don't remind me of that. He didn't even try. Are you talking about when he came to our team?
Yeah, I forgot it was.
That's why, like, when people say greatest all time, I'll never jump in because you got to try. Like, I mean, I never seen a player quit on so many routes that was like a high profile player.
Right. So okay. So got Jalen Hurts. Oh, it's Jalen Hurts or Josh Allen.
Dude, it's so hard to draft Jalen when Josh is on the board.
It is.
But you got the correlation.
I got the correlation, but like it'd be easy to get correlation with Josh Allen. Then, like,
that's true because you still have all of his receivers on the board. Like, I don't think Kincaid's a possibility there.
I think most people would have gone Hurts there, like because they had the players already. So I think going Josh.
What's your next pick? Kincaid goes at 51.
Kincaid, like he'd be my next.
But I mean, what's your next number pick? Oh, you got you won't get him. It would have to be an avalanche because you're at what? Your next one's 57?
57.
Yeah, he's not. I mean, I could be wrong, but
yeah, I'll put him in my queue and see what happens. Like, I
don't think it's gonna happen.
Yeah, I'm kind of surprised by that. I'm surprised that he's going as I get it that like they lost all their weapons and everything, but do we think that he's going to be seeing that huge spike in targets, or what do you think is going to happen with Kincaid?
Yeah, I think he's going to eat a lot of those targets up.
Yeah.
Unless Keon Coleman is just like elite right off the bat, which I don't see.
You don't see it? Like I
think he's going to be good, but I don't think he's going to come in like having a Jamar Chase style season.
Right. I like his attitude. I don't think he's going to have a Jamar Chase season, but I like his attitude, Like he was talking about his
he's got the WWE style interviews. It's like Anthony Edwards. If you do that, like I'm like, okay, you're my favorite player.
Right. If he can back it up, like then that would be great. Yeah, I saw the interview or whatever where he came in with like the puffy yellow jacket in like the spring or whatever when it was warm out. It was pretty good. All right, so who you got next on your list there? You took Mahomes?
Yeah.
Are you taking him a lot in the fourth round, or are you how are you playing that? Just when he falls to you ADP wise, or?
Yeah, he didn't even really fall. It wasn't like a value.
Yeah. It's like
I'm just with you. I think it's a bounce back year.
Yeah. Yeah.
And maybe this is one of my flaws, but I still go back to like just real football, you know?
Yeah.
And he's just, I'm getting the best quarterback in the NFL, right? It's like you talk about if you pick number one, like there's times where I've got McCaffrey, Mahomes, Kelsey, and I'm like, okay, fantasy and usage, whatever. I have like the three best players at their position.
Right.
You know,
I think me picking Allen there just got somebody with Devontae Smith a really good deal on Jalen Hurts. He just picked him like 6 or 7 after his ADP.
Yeah, it was really late. So I think I'm gonna reach for Xavier Worthy here.
You're going to get Xavier Worthy?
I'm thinking so. I mean, look at my wide opportunity cost at wide receiver. Jaden Reed, question marks. Calvin Ridley, question marks.
Yeah.
Godwin, I'll grab him on DK. So then it's for She Rice, and at least Worthy I should get the whole season. So that's why I'm gonna reach it here.
Yeah.
But do you understand my point on the opportunity cost? Like Jaden Reed's not a slam dunk,
right?
You think?
Yeah. No, I think.
I think if Christian Watson's healthy, he's the number one there.
Yeah, I think so too.
And I have the new Tyreek Hill.
Yeah. I mean, I probably would have been looking at ETN there, but like, what's your running back situation?
None.
Oh, you don't? Yeah, I would have gone with ETN there.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
So when I do ETN, because you can do it, I like to go all in on Jacksonville.
Yeah.
I think when I picked Mahomes, I'm just kind of out of that sweepstakes.
All right. So now I'm in a similar situation with these.
And in fact, you know when I'll get ETN is when I'm drafting in your range.
Yeah.
Because they'll be high on the board, and I grab ETN Kirk right around the turn, especially if I'm a little farther back. Then you grab Ingram, Trevor, and you're set. And it's actually fairly easy.
So I ended up grabbing Odunze there. I grabbed him, you know, like I like him better than Godwin. I don't know why there's such a discrepancy in there. Well, I guess, you know, like Godwin to me, he just didn't show any
Godwin's
chemistry.
the clear number 2 and Odunze's number 3. Say what you want about Baker, but at least we know he's right.
Yeah, I mean, but
Caleb is still a big question mark.
Yeah,
these Bears players have been dropping because supposedly he didn't do well in OTAs. Now I don't take too much from that.
Yeah,
but he did struggle with time in the pocket. Now I've had to come back. Well, it's because he's making things happen like Mahomes, so that stat is actually flawed. But I can understand why people like Godwin more. But obviously this draft room doesn't, because he's still here on the board here at we're at pick 62 right now. Oh, right. He just went. So now you're 1-1-3-0. I already know who I would pick if I were you.
Cook.
What are you thinking?
Would you pick Cook?
I would pick Kittle.
Kittle.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nah, I want to pick Coleman, but he's ADP of 70, so it's like 14 early on him.
Coleman's been falling too.
Cook is still. I'm going to go with Cook because Cook, you know, like I want to build that Bills stack. If I miss Coleman,
oh yeah, you do have a correlation there.
Yeah.
So I worry about getting left out on the tight end run.
Yeah.
Because so first of all, I love Brock Bowers, but I understand it's a gamble. And if we're being realistic, to me, I think the argument is, does it cut off at Ingram or does it cut off at Ferguson? And I'll accept the Ferguson arguments, but in my head, I've kind of been treating it like it cuts off at Ingram.
Right.
So needless to say, if Kittle's on the board here, I'll probably take him. Let's see if Rowe takes him. Rowe versus DFS.
I'm kind of regretting. I'm thinking on that Cook situation. Like, really, if you're drafting Cook with Allen, you're obviously hoping that he's getting a lot of receiving touchdowns. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of my hope with Cook, is that he's going to soak up a lot of those targets that left as well.
Kittle just went off the board.
Were you right before you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I knew that was a possibility though.
Yeah.
Okay, I can go 5th wide receiver. I could go Evan Ingram. Yeah, I might end up doing that.
I like Jackson Smith and Jigba too. Do you have?
I do.
You do? Yeah.
Yeah. But I don't want to get left out on this tight end run, so I'm going to grab Evan Ingram right now.
Yeah,
Um,
I think Evan Ingram's like as good as any of those other guys that got drafted early. You know,
yeah,
I'd
yeah.
take him over Kittle. Like I would rank him over
Really?
Kittle. Yeah.
So here's my argument for Kittle in the best ball format.
Okay.
And then I want to talk to you a little bit about that Cook Allen deal, and I got to figure out my next pick. I got a chance at either Kenneth Walker, JSN, so I think I'm kind of locking myself into Geno Smith as my backup here.
Yeah,
which I'm fine with. So Kittle has been in the past 25 games he's played, he's been the number one wide receiver 7 times. So that's just why I love him in this format, you know, where you got a chance he's going to be the top guy there. Oh my gosh. Okay. I mean, it has to be Kenneth Walker, right?
I mean, if you got the
yeah, I'm not even thinking about this.
Yeah, I mean, you got to get a running back at this point.
And then Geno's going to be my backup most likely.
Yeah. And then, you know, like other running backs on the board, we still got Najee Harris on the board. We know that they're going to take probably a more run.
I love this running back range here. I think this is why a lot of people just wait, because look how many, like,
no,
I mean, if you want, Simon, and we could do a different show, and we could just start at this range, and I can go down and tell you why all these players are great picks.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
I want to go back to your James Cook real quick, though.
Someone just took Coleman, bastard.
A couple. Curtis Samuel. You got to get Curtis Samuel then. I think Curtis Samuel's got a chance to outperform Coleman, too.
All right. He's
28 years old. He's in his prime, and this is the best situation he's ever been in.
Right.
I would probably reach for him here. I know you're leaving all those backs on the board, but
yeah. Well, I really don't. I really like. I have 2 running backs already. Yeah. I really don't see. I don't want Jordan Addison.
No, nobody does. He's fallen.
So I can either go with like go with the Najee.
I think you got to go Curtis Samuel here.
Yeah, because I mean, like all those running backs that are on the board. If I wanted to draft the 3rd one right now, they're all a bunch of guys that, you know, like I would rather just take what falls to me on my next pick, which is in 5 picks. Yeah. So, you know, better if you're in a situation like that, better to go with the guy that, you know, fits your correlation than.
And when you see this guy airtime, who's got 2 tight ends already, I don't think Samuel would have got past him.
Right.
He's got to take a wide receiver there. Of all the backs on the board, so real quick on your Cook deal, I just think it's great for your build because you have the chance to ping pong to the finals. Maybe for the playoffs is not the best, most ideal situation, but if that Bills offense is as good as we think, you know, Cook leads your team one week, Allen leads your team the next week, but you know you're constantly at the top of the leaderboard, and that's going to help your advance rates a lot. So who do you like here in this range of these guys that are still on the board as far as the running backs?
As far as the running backs, let's see. I think I would lean Swift is the guy that I would lean. Like he's also let's see. I don't like Jonathan Brooks. I'll tell you here in a minute.
So for your situation, I think Jonathan Brooks is okay as number 3. If you've done what I done with the 0 RB build, I don't like him. But your chance for him to be effective in the playoffs, I think, is good.
Yeah,
right? Because you get your top 2 guys that get you there, and then maybe Brooks, you know, takes over at that point of the season. However, I mean, it's weird because actually Chuba Hubbard did really well in a really inept offense last year.
That's what I'm saying. Like everybody is touting Jonathan Brooks, but look at the situation. He's coming off an ACL tear. Mm-hmm. Obviously, we want him towards the end of the season, but there's no guarantee that he's going to earn a spot. You know, like coming off an ACL tear by the end of the season. You know, if they're in any type of contention, they're going to stick with Chuba Hubbard, like because Chuba Hubbard's probably doing well if the team's doing well, and you got to figure if they get into the latter part of the season, are they really going to put a heavy workload on Jonathan Brooks? Like coming off that injury when they got nothing to compete for, like other than
that's what I'm thinking too, right? Are you going to give him 35 carries and when you're 3-9,
right? And he's coming off an ACL tear, you know, like no NFL level running back gets that many reps coming off an ACL tear, much less a rookie just starting off in the league. I don't understand the love for that guy this season.
Help me with my next
Next
pick,
year, I'm sure he's
Simon.
great. Yeah.
Do I want Zach Moss, Tony Pollard, or Brian Robinson? Who do you like the best out of those three?
Out of those three, I think I like Pollard.
All right, let's do that one. I don't have much Pollard. I've been going Spears a lot.
I do like Zach Moss, but I do think that Chase Brown is the obvious value there on Cincinnati.
Yeah.
I'm going to go with my tight end on my next pick. I'm going to hope that Dallas Goedert falls to me. That gives me another Eagle to add into my correlation there. Normally, I would have tried to get Josh Palmer instead of Swift there, but it was just like this is what I hate about the 9th spot, because I would have been reaching for him by like 20 ADP or like 15 to 20 ADP. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Like, because I don't like the options there, because I usually like drafting those early running backs. But I think if you're in that 9 spot, you really just got to draft wide receivers up front. And then because you're going to be stuck in these situations where when you get later in the 9th round or so, you're just sitting there struggling to reach for wide receivers. Like, just, yeah, I think it just makes more sense if you're in the back half of those drafts, unless Brees or Bijan fall to you, just take receiver back to back.
Yeah, I would agree.
And this particular league, we still have a lot of good quarterbacks on the board too. Spread.
So that was one other thing I was going to say. You talked to me. We were talking at the show. What have I noticed doing a lot of drafts? To me, I'm trying to identify, is this a tight end room or a QB room, right? Because the receivers all fly off the board. Everyone pushes running back. The thing that really defines a room to me is, do they make a run on QBs or do they make a run on tight ends? In this room, they made a run on tight ends, which means all this QB value is available, which sucks because in hindsight, it's like, boy, I don't know if I should have gotten Mahomes so early, because there's going to be so many good options here doing this right now. I'm going to be right back, Simon.
Yeah, no worries. Let's see. So right now, I'm looking at Khalil Shakir. Again, not an optimal pick here, but it goes with my correlation, and I really am not seeing many options that I like more. I do like Dontavian Wicks, but I might. I'm going to have to go with Shakir there. Like, if I didn't have Josh Allen, I would have gone with Dontavian Wicks with that pick, just because I think he's got a ton of upside. He's another guy that could rise this year for the Packers.
I just came back and I heard you talking about the Packers.
Yeah.
Tough for all of them to pay off, but I think 2 of them are going to be the winners. It's just, is it going to be Jaden Reed and Romeo Dobbs, or will it be Christian Watson, Dontavian Wicks? Right? It's an interesting mix. Same with the Texans, and that's why it's tough for me. I mean, I would say almost certainly for a fact, there's no way those 3 wide receivers will pay off their ADP. Right. In mine, I think it's only one of 3.
It's funny how the 3 receivers for Houston are going super early, and the receivers for Green Bay are going, like a lot later. It doesn't make a lot of sense to me, because they both have quarterbacks that, had their first years as starters last season, and they both outperformed, and the receiving core outperformed too. But one of them is going super early, the other is going super late. I think the Green Bay is a much more attractive valuation, obviously. But what are your thoughts on how Houston's going to perform versus Green Bay as far as the receiving cores?
Yeah, I think it's tough. I think 50% of the Green Bay receivers are going to pay off. Boy, do I take Trevor here?
If you got your exposure to
Ingram.
Yeah, you might as well. I wouldn't take Geno just because you got DK.
Yeah, I like that a little better. I'll probably jump in with some Geno towards the end, depending on if he drops.
Yeah,
if you get him, these guys are falling.
I just feel like Geno might not even make it through the season. I think
And that's what Tyler thinks too.
Yeah.
In a DK draft we did last week, Tyler took Sam Howell with his 20th pick.
Yeah.
Oh no, that's my other buddy Will. But my buddy there, I have some buddies taking not on Underdog, right? Because you don't have the extra rounds, but on DK where you have those last 2 rounds that are just, I mean, literal dart throws.
Mm-hmm.
You're just picking random names. I have some buddies taking Howell with the idea that if he takes over, I could be sitting on this guy with 2% in the playoffs, right? And if he has a big game, nobody else is going to have him. So I understand that thinking. All right, you're up 1-3-5-1. Who are you looking at?
I'm looking at Gabe Davis versus Mike Williams. I'm going to go with Davis because I think they're both kind of and
I like Gabe Davis so much more than Mike Williams. I think Mike Williams is a better player, but I
just needed
what's your over under on the games played for Mike Williams? 7.5.
7.5.
I mean, Gabe Davis will probably only be in your lineup for 4 weeks, but at least he's going to be out there every week and give you an opportunity.
Yeah.
And who knows? Maybe this is the year it turns around for him. I don't know if I see it, but
I just think that, the Buffalo team, when Gabe Davis was on that team, they're majorly focused on obviously Stephon Diggs and the run game and running the ball more. Gabe Davis had his moments when they needed to push the ball downfield. He was kind of hit or miss with that. But, like maybe with a new environment, he'll do a little bit better. He's got Trevor Lawrence throwing to him now, who will probably, will obviously be relying more on the pass game than his legs. So that's going to give, theoretically more opportunity for Gabe Davis there. And, we've seen flashes out of him. So he does have good potential, and, we'll just see what happens with him. But if I'm given the choice between Gabe Davis and Mike Williams coming off an ACL tear, I'll take Gabe Davis first and hope that Mike Williams falls to me on the next one.
I mean, he might.
Yeah, because right now where I'm looking, Jalen.
You're at 1-3-6-1. I might be looking at your backup quarterback. Let me look at your team real quick. Who are you thinking of for your backup quarterback?
I'm leaning Deshaun Watson, just because my guys that I normally draft here are all off the board. Mm-hmm. So I really don't.
Yeah, you have no opportunities for correlation. Every receiver you have. Well, now you can grab Aaron Rodgers.
Right. That's why I grabbed him. I can't actually because it's week 12 bye. So, I didn't pay attention.
You don't like 3 QB builds?
Well, I don't mind them. It just depends on which QB I'm getting as my QB.
I would just grab like Bryce Young or Bo Nix. You only need them for 1 week.
Right.
And you just hope that week is a good week.
But I do like.
I guess you could look it up real quick.
Yeah, I mean,
that's the easiest week 12 schedule.
I like Deshaun Watson. I think he's.
You're probably the only person I've talked to that does, Simon. So I got to hear this.
Yeah, I mean, well, if you look at him here, hang on a sec. Let me just fix this this draft here on the screen share. Sorry, guys, if you're watching for not keeping up on that. With the thing with Deshaun Watson is. He's got so much freaking heat like the last couple years for good reason. And I think it's gone, way too far when he's falling into 161 ADP because he was not that bad when he played last year. Everybody, talks about how bad he was, but he really was putting up like 20 DK points like when he was playing. So, I mean, that's an overreaction in my opinion, especially if he's going at 161, which puts him in the 15th round. Like if you can get a quarterback that can consistently get you 20 points in the 15th round, I mean, that's a steal. And I think that Deshaun Watson, they just brought in the offensive coordinator formerly of Buffalo, who Josh Allen was actually doing well under.
Who?
They were losing games. Who was the guy that
Ken Dorsey? Is it
Ken Dorsey? Yeah.
Oh, I don't think. And you know what sucks? I want him to be so good so bad.
Yeah.
I remember him going to Miami. I thought he was going to be so good.
Yeah.
He's the NorCal guy.
Yeah. But, you know, like Allen was doing well with him. They were losing games, but
You're up
Allen
real
was
quick
doing
in
well.
case you didn't
Yeah,
know.
let me I'm gonna go with shit.
Someone I have like almost none of, TJ Hawkinson at the top of the board.
I'm going with Rodgers here. I know I have like two week 12 buys, but it's like we were talking about. I'm just gonna grab a third.
Just grab a third, yeah.
Third quarterback. So that opens me up to draft.
Get that quarterback run in this room.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, I didn't want to interrupt, but Simon, I almost grabbed a naked Jared Goff there just because of right. It's just like something you don't need, but it's just so ridiculously on sale.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, gosh, like I don't really need this, but it's such a good deal. Can I really pass it up? You know?
Right. Right.
But I didn't. I stuck to it because, you know, my guy Jaleel McLaughlin went right after Kendra Miller, but you know, I'm a big McLaughlin guy, but I think the value's starting to be gone. One of the reasons I was drafting him so much was because he was behind he was down there with Bucky Irving.
Right.
And I think he's got a better opportunity to perform in a fantasy format. Although on Underdog, I like him a little less because I think he's going to get a lot of work out of the backfield if my little scenario comes true. But I think Kendra Miller is a much safer pick. Kamara's getting older, and I think that they wanted to. I think they know Kamara's gone at the end of the year, and they're going to want to kind of make this transition right now, unless they're like 10-3 going into the end of the season, you know. Yeah. And Kamara's doing great. If they're like struggling again, I think that it'll be Kendra Miller's job once we're in fantasy football playoffs.
All right, so it's coming up on me.
So you got the second quarterback.
Yeah.
You only have 3 running backs, but you're so strong at that position.
God damn it. I was gonna draft Kamani Vidal, and he just got taken. So, God damn. This is why I hate this position, man. I freaking hate it. I'm gonna go.
All right. Well, are you looking running back here?
No, I
DeMarcus Robinson,
with, DeMarcus Robinson.
Wow, do you have 8 wide receivers now?
Yeah, I think so. But 2 of them, I feel like I reached on Buffalo's receivers because it's Samuel and
Shakir, and the fact they probably will never make into your lineup the same week.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. So I know I have like numbers there, but it's more like reaching for correlation. I feel like with the ADP, you know, like on those 2 guys, I think their ADPs are way too high. I think it's going to be Keon, and I think it's going to be Dalton and Cook. And those guys are going to be, you know, like bit players. Let's see. Who are you looking at?
I'm going to grab Roman Wilson here.
Roman Wilson. Now, what are your thoughts on Roman Wilson? There was another receiver, like who was the other receiver that people are saying might start over Roman Wilson and Pittsburgh right now? Let's see. Let me look it up.
I thought Wilson was doing well in camp.
Yeah, I mean
OTAs or whatever we had.
Yeah. Oh, Freiermuth. I think they're thinking he's going to give him like not Van Jefferson. Who was it? Calvin Austin. I think there was some buzz on Calvin Austin.
If you're not beating out Calvin Austin, then that's a wasted pick by me.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. But like the theory with Pittsburgh is that they're obviously really good at drafting receivers, but
that's why I keep taking them.
Right.
But they know more about receivers than I do at this range.
But they drafted Calvin Austin last year, right? And they're slow rollers with.
Oh, did they? Why am I getting them mixed up with someone else?
Someone just drafted freaking Tyler Conklin too. So they just.
Do I take Adam Thielen here?
I mean, he's your guy from Showdown last year, dude. Like
that was like a totally specific game, though. I don't know if I trust him the full season. It's either that or my 5th running back. I'll just take him.
You know which running back I like in this range? Well, besides Chuba Hubbard, I'm going to grab Chuba Hubbard if he falls to me. He's not going to because
if he gets past this guy, he will.
Let's see.
If I were you, I'd take. Oh, you already have Cook though.
Yeah.
So no Davis for you. I wouldn't take Davis if I Cook.
The guys I like in this range are Chuba Hubbard and I like Deontay Foreman.
He's going to. These 2 guys won't take him.
Yeah, I'm not going to take
these two guys are done with the running back, so you can just kind of keep that in your head for the rest of your draft.
Okay, that's good at least.
In my mind, I mean, maybe they go 6, but
yeah. All right, he just went receiver. He went with Mims. Which receiver?
He's going to go receiver or tight end.
Which receivers do you like on the board right now?
In this round, I'd say you just take Wilson or McCaffrey because I actually like Javon Baker and Tyler Boyd more, but you can get him next time around.
Makes sense. Just grabbed.
So everyone's still on the screen and taking ADP into consideration. I think Tyler Boyd is by far the best value.
So for my next couple picks, I got to look at my quarterback situation. I got to look at my tight end situation.
Yeah, I mean, look at where these quarterbacks are. Though you can get Baker.
Yeah, I might go with a Baker Otten little mini stack there, and then grab like Trey. What's his face?
I don't think you'll be able to get Baker up, will you?
Yeah, it should be. It's like it's me.
I don't think so. Because your next pick, if you pick one of them, you're not going to pick again for like 20 picks.
Well, if I grab if Baker is taken by the time he gets to me here, I'm going to grab my next pick is a quarterback. So I'm going to either go.
The only guy that's going to take Baker, I think, will be Airtime.
Airtime.
I don't think KG. Well, maybe he will because he just took Bucky Irvin. No, J.K. Dobbins is interesting, man. That's a roll of the dice. I mean, if he's healthy, he's by far the best back in San Diego / Los Angeles.
He's a roll of the dice, but he's cheap. He's very cheap, like in the 16th round. So I don't think you're giving up a lot of like opportunity there, because you're swinging for the fences in these rounds, and or you're just kind of in a situation like me where you just kind of God damn it, see there goes Baker Mayfield.
Hold on. So just real quick, if oh never mind, it's at Houston. I was trying to look at who Will Levis plays week 12 because you're really looking at week 12.
Yeah, I'm just grabbing Will Levis there.
I thought it was Washington. Now it's week 13. No, week 12 he's at Houston. That kind of sucks. Not the worst though.
Week 12 or week 17?
I was looking at week 12 because of your bye.
Oh, I got you.
Because if everything goes well, right, then that's the only week he's going to be in your lineup.
Houston? Like, because doesn't Houston and Tennessee usually play each other pretty well?
Off the top of my head, I can't remember.
I think it's like it's like Derrick Henry always destroys Houston. I think it's the situation.
Yeah, that doesn't matter anymore, right?
Yeah, no. So the games are usually like competitive at least, or at least higher scoring. I think.
Maybe I'll grab Bryce Young for my third quarterback.
Yeah,
I like Daniel Jones more, but I'd have some Bryce Young correlation. Or I could wait and grab. Oh wait, is Russell Wilson gone?
He might be.
Oh, no, he's not. I can grab Russell Wilson later.
Yeah. Don't you like Bo Nix? Do you like Bo Nix, or you just don't have the correlation? Or
as number 3, yeah.
What about Daniel Jones? What are you doing with him this season?
I love Daniel Jones, but I didn't grab any of his pieces earlier.
Gotcha.
I mean, you can always backstack, but I already have 7 receivers, so you see what I'm saying? Like, I guess I could have gone Jones, Slayton there or something, but I don't know.
Let's see.
I'll probably just grab Bryce here for my last one.
Yeah. What do you think of, with Tennessee, you can build a nice little stack on the back end here because I'm seeing like Chigakonkwo and Treylon Burks are both still on. I like Treylon Burks. I think this is like the ultimate, buy low on a guy because you're really like the game that took him out like in his rookie season, like he got a concussion. I think it was against Philly, catching a touchdown, right? He made this amazing catch and he ended up with a concussion. He was never really the same after that. He's kind of a guy that came in with asthma problems in his rookie season. So he got off to a really slow start. And then, like when he was finally, looking decent, like that's when he got a concussion. And last year, I don't know what his deal was last year. Was he like like an ACL thing, or like what was his deal last year?
Unfortunately, I think he just wasn't getting open.
Yeah.
So
But
we'll see. I mean, the guy's a physical stud. All right,
yeah.
I'm going to go Bryce here, number 3. So you know what? That's kind of why, you know, Simon, with Meg and FanSpeak, I do DK.
Yeah.
And that's my favorite thing, is grabbing guys like Treylon Burks over there.
Right. What is Meg? I know Meg's high on the Titans. Is she in on Treylon Burks?
No. They just go Chig, Tyler Boyd, and then the top 2.
Gotcha.
But they do Underdog exclusively. I think with those last 2 rounds, that's where he really becomes viable, right?
Yeah.
Because your opportunity cost there is like Dylan Lobb, Alexander Madison, right? I mean, just like these second, third stringers.
God damn it. I've been sniped on every one of these rounds. Somebody just took Kate Otten.
Yeah, I didn't think he was going to get back to you. I was surprised he was even still on the board. Who are you looking at now? You're 3-4-8-1. I think you got to go tight end.
Yeah, I mean, Juwan Johnson. Really, like it's like if you grab Juwan Johnson, you pretty much have to grab a third one too. It just sucks about him.
Yeah, I don't mind Juwan Johnson at all.
I'm just going to take him and hope that he's healthy on the week.
He dropped with that injury news, but I think that was overblown.
Okay.
I think he's going to be good to go. So it's like that you didn't get the correlation there, but that was kind of aggressive to try and expect Otten to fall that far.
Yeah. Yeah. But I did feel like I did need to get that quarterback shored up. So I kind of didn't really have a choice. According to, you know, like my thoughts on like all these rest of these quarterbacks to me look like they might not even last the season. You know, like McCarthy and Nix will probably last the season. Obviously, they're rookies, but we don't know.
Well, here's the deal with McCarthy. Tyler and I were talking about this on Tuesday. I don't think he starts until week 6 or 7. My guess is they'll run Darnold, and then I think their bye week is week 6. And then, you know, unless the Vikings are 5-1 at that point, I think that's when they make the switch.
Yeah.
It's rough though. I mean, I know everyone's counting the Vikings out, but we see this every year in the NFL, especially if, you know, God forbid there's an injury to one of the top players on either Green Bay or Detroit.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden the Vikings are in the mix, and then they don't need to get away from Darnold. And I know a lot of people don't like him, but this is by far the best situation he's ever been in. I mean, throwing to Justin Jefferson, I think I could do that.
Yeah. All right. I'm gonna go with Foreman here, because I don't think that Ford is that great of a running back, and I think that Foreman is a guy that he always comes in with low expectations and ends up blowing them out of the water, you know. And I needed a 5th running back at that point. So ended up going with him. What are your thoughts there on the Cleveland running back situation? You think that, like, because Ford had his opportunity last year and he really didn't do anything impressive.
I think James Ford could be a James Conner type, where he's not that good, but his usage is so ridiculous that he's a top 10 guy.
Yeah. All right, so that's the end. Let's take a look at our teams here, spread.
All right. Dang it, mine just went off.
Yeah, mine too.
Back to it. Let's
see.
That's the problem with being in all these contests. All right, this is my 43rd Best Ball Mania 5. You want me to start with my team?
Yeah, go for it.
All right. So quarterbacks feel great. Patrick Mahomes, Trevor Lawrence, Bryce Young. I think that's exactly how you want to do it. I like having the 3 quarterbacks. That way, if Lawrence or Mahomes rolls an ankle for a week or 2, I have a better chance of making sure I get in there. As with every team that I draft, if you guys have been watching me on these streams, running back is where I really rolled the dice here. I only have really one true number 1 hashtag bell cow. That's Kenneth Walker. And then what I'm doing is I'm grabbing a bunch of backups that I think, well, Tony Pollard's technically the starter, but I think that's going to be close to a 50-50 split there. And that's why Spears is so popular. Chase Brown is the backup right now, but I think he's actually the better running back. So I'm hoping he emerges by the end of the season. I talked about Miller when I drafted him, and Damian Pierce at pick 190. It's just like, okay. I mean, at that point, you're getting a second stringer. He was really good 2 years ago. The coaching staff said that they want to use him some more. You can see that I went real heavy on wide receiver to start. I reached for Worthy because I had Mahomes. Totally boomer bust play, but that's the type of player I want to reach on. I mean, if the guy really is the second coming to Tyreek Hill, then I'm not going to be too mad that I picked him 12 picks earlier. Then I kind of ignored wide receiver. So you see now I'm really banking on some rookies, Jermaine Burton, Roman Wilson, Thielen. I didn't really like that pick, but, I got him at 171. It usually goes at 160. And then just because we talked about him earlier, I threw Jawan Jennings in there with that last pick there, Simon. So we'll see how that goes. And then I got two of my favorite tight ends, Evan Ingram and Brock Bowers. What'd you think of your team?
So real quick on Burton, like what do you like about Burton over Josephus?
Over who?
I'm probably pronouncing his name wrong. Josephus, the other receiver on Cincinnati.
Just that Joe Burrow's already talked him up in camp. He was in the very first OTAs, and they seemed to get a rapport right off the bat. Yeah, he was also excellent in college. So he's got the profile. And if this year wasn't so stacked at wide receiver, he would have been drafted way higher. And I think we would have a different perception of him. Because if you look at it, like even Odunze, he would be a number one almost every year, except for maybe the year Chase was coming out of the last 5 years. Right. This is the most stacked wide receiver class we have already, which is why I like getting these late round wide receivers, because I think that they might be a little bit undervalued due to the fact the top of the class was so stacked.
I like that. So, makes sense.
Yeah, but we'll see. I mean, kind of sucked. I would rather have him as the sixth wide receiver, but I had to get my favorite guy, Brock Bowers, who to me is the total boomer bust pick. Yeah. But if you just look at actual talent, I mean, I think he might be one of the most talented players in the draft if you take out Marvin Harrison Jr.
Gotcha. So, I think that my draft started off pretty good with A.J. Brown, Saquon Barkley. I was getting some Philadelphia correlation there. Went with Stephon Diggs, kind of a situation where he was the best option for me on the board at that time. Not really in love with that pick, but get some exposure there. Josh Allen is where I went next, and I kind of made a commitment at that point to Buffalo. So Odunze, spread just mentioned, I took him in round 5, and then I went with Cook, and then I started having to fall apart a little bit with grabbing Samuel, who I really don't like grabbing in the 7th round, but his ADP kind of puts him there, and so
you had to. He wasn't going to come back to you.
Right. So if
he was the second receiver on the board, and these guys are thirsty for receivers, there's no way he would have got back to you.
Yep. So, I mean, with Buffalo, you're just trying to gather as many receivers as you can, not knowing what the situation is going to shake out like, and just hoping that you hit, basically. So if you have heavy exposure to Buffalo, you're going to want to have exposure to these guys no matter what, because you don't know which one of these guys is going to hit. It's just unfortunate that the ADP value on them is like way too high for 81 ADP on or whatever it is. Actually, what is his ADP? I took him at pick 81. I think he's like probably closer to 87 or something, but he's still too expensive.
But he was the second wide receiver on that board when you took him.
Right. Yeah. And if you look at
and everyone was thirsty for him still.
Yeah. There was nobody else left for wide receivers. And at that point I already had 2 running backs at that point. So I kind of had.
Yeah. You already had Cook and Barkley. You couldn't go with another. Well, you could, but I wouldn't have gone with another running back there. You had to do that. I thought that was great.
So, and this is kind of illustrates what we were talking about, spread with when you're in that 9th spot or you're in the back end of these drafts, you really just got to go wide receiver heavy at the beginning. Because you're going to get stuck in these situations where everybody is drafting wide receiver heavy in these drafts. So whether you agree with it or not, like once you get to that back end, you're going to have nothing but running backs to choose from or reaching for wide receivers. So you're kind of forced, if you want to draft a good team, into following that kind of path, like where you're taking wide receiver heavy in the beginning. But I ended up with Dallas Goedert, who I like as a tight end, goes with my Philly stack. Buffalo went back with Shakir, and then I went with Gabe Davis and Mike Williams. Both those guys are crapshoots, but both could also pay off. Aaron Rodgers is who I ended up with as my second quarterback, even though he has the same bye week as my first quarterback. So I went with a third one in Levis, but I also went with Demarcus Robinson, whose value is shooting up. He used to be able to get him in the 18th round, but I got him in the 14th in this one. Chuba Hubbard, who I think could outperform Jonathan Brooks this season. I'm not buying the Jonathan Brooks hype. Will Levis, I took him as my QB3 because I had 2 on the same week. I like drafting 3 quarterbacks in general, but I haven't gotten a whole lot of Will Levis, but I know Meg is high on the Titans, and she's got a good judgment on this stuff. Juwan Johnson is the tight end that I picked as my tight end 2, which is a risky tight end 2 to have because the guy's always hurt. And Deontay Foreman is who I took in the final round. I think he's a steal in the 18th round because I think that the Cleveland Browns are going to probably use him a decent amount this year. I'm not buying.
I think he's their red zone back. I think that's why it's a good pick.
Yeah, and I'm not buying Ford. I'm not buying like Shoup coming back anytime soon. So I think Deontay Foreman's going to have another situation where he comes in underrated and he ends up taking the job. So we'll see what happens there.
All right, Simon, I got to wrap up here real quick, but my final thought on your draft is that I thought it was really interesting there. Round 4, you pivoted to Josh Allen, and I think we go into a draft with a game plan, and then sometimes the ADP just throws it out of the water. When you reach for Saquon in round 2, it seems like, okay, Jalen Hurts, you have to do it. However, we talked about how can you draft Jalen Hurts when Josh Allen is on the board. I think you did a great job of pivoting, and it's important that we're flexible and we don't just stick to something based and just be a robots based off our first 2 picks. So I thought you did a great job.
Thanks, man. Yeah, and that helps you differentiate your teams too when you do stuff like that too. So
yeah.
Awesome, Spread. Well, thanks for joining me. Thanks for watching, guys. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe. Looking for get up to 530 subscribers before the NFL season, and get us up to 20 likes on this video to trigger the next one. And thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time. Thanks for joining me, Spread.
Thank you.
Oh, Spread, where can they follow you?
At Astaire on Twitter/X.
Awesome. Perfect. And
Thanks,
catch
Simon.
them on FanSpeak network as well.
That's right.